In the Seventh-day Adventist Church, beloved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, this is a very urgent message, a very urgent message. A firm stance against the Omega Rebellion, Part 1. A firm stance against the Omega Rebellion, Part 1. Now here recently, a man named Rick Howard came out with the video in a book called The Omega Rebellion. I met Rick Howard when he was at Wildwood back in 2007 when my father was still living, my earthly father was still living, dad was still living. And in his book, he talks about how spiritual formation, and particularly the books Celebration, Discipline, and Invitation to a Journey, are witchcraft books, and how these books are what witch doctors and warlocks commit and disguise Christianity in these last days. And they teach that to our students and in our schools, and so our schools are becoming centers of witchcraft and sorcery to disguise Christianity. Beloved, I like to read a scripture to you here in the Bible that deals with this issue, and also an Ellen White quote from Sister White. It talks about this issue as well. This is taken from Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 11, verse 10 starting. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God will drive them out before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with me, the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess, hearken unto observers of times, and unto diviners, for thee the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee to do so. What was the Bible talking about, those nations? It was talking about those ancient, wicked Canaanite nations, those ancient black Canaanite nations in the current Middle East, between Africa and Asia, beloved. And the nations that the children of Israel blotted off the map. That necromancy, that witchcraft, that evil consulting, those spiritualists are in our church today. They're in the Seventh-day Adventist Church today through spiritual formation, which is neurolinguistic programming, contemplative prayer. They're also in our school system and our schools of religion being masked as Seventh-day Adventist doctrine. They're called theosophy. Doctrines that teach that we're once saved, never lost. Doctrines that teach that we can't overcome sin. Doctrines that teach that Jesus Christ is not in the most holy place right now, interceding for us, investigating our character, and blotting out sin for us right now, beloved in the Adventist Church. Let me read to you a statement from the pen of inspiration from Sister Ellen G. White. I'm going to my E.G. White Estate CD-ROM. I'm going to my E.G. White Estate CD-ROM here on my laptop. And I'm going to the book. Education. The abbreviation is ED in book code, and the chapter is called, the text is called Spiritualism. The chapter is called Education and Character. I didn't type it in right, beloved. It says right here, the book Education, chapter called Education and Character, section called Character Building, chapter 25, it says, Spiritualism asserts that men are all unfallen demigods, that each mind will judge itself, that the knowledge places men above all law, that all sins committed are innocent, For whatever is right, and God does not condemn. The basis of human beings he represents as in heaven and highly exalted there. Thus it declares to all men, it matters not what you live, not what you do. Live as you please. Heaven is your home. Multitudes are thus led to believe that the desire is the highest law, that license is liberty, and that man is accountable only to himself. With such teaching given at the very outset of life, when impulse is strongest and the demand for self-restraint is purity is most urgent, where are the safeguards of virtue? What is to prevent the world from becoming a second Sodom? At the same time, anarchy is seeking to sweep away all law, not only divine but human. So, beloved in the Adventist Church, Spiritualism says that we can live as we please. Heaven is our home. And you don't burn, you burn eternally when you sin. You don't burn into your ashes. That's what Spiritualism teaches. That's what's entering into the Seventh-day Adventist Church through spiritual information and new theology when it comes to the Seventh-day Adventist theology classes in our schools of religion in the Adventist Church, beloved, in the Adventist Church. And that's why we have to be on guard and mindful and not be deceived by Satan's deceptions in these last days. Spiritual information comes from a man named Ignatius Loyola. He was commissioned by the Catholic Church in 1611 to counteract the Reformation. We see recently, before Moses Mason died, all the apostate Protestant churches came together because they were trying to unite themselves around the shared belief through Tony Palmer and Kenneth Copeland as the Reformation was over, based on the fact that they said that we're no longer that when it says that that the Catholic Church is not legalist anymore because they believe they were saved by grace alone now, faith through grace alone now, and they have a skewed belief on that because they don't believe in obedience with grace. They simply believe in grace alone, and they believe in a new theology prism of grace that says you can live as you please and still be saved. And so that's a part of spiritualism, and that's why they're united around the Catholic Church. Well, the Catholic Church is one who commissioned the Jesuits to counteract the Reformation by infiltrating many Protestant denominations and bringing them all back to Mama, bringing them all back to Roman Catholic Church, to papacy. And they've infiltrated the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are the last church of the true Reformation in these last days. We're the last church to bring on the Reformation and to break away from the papacy, the Catholic Church, the mother of harlots, the beast, the great harlot of Revelation 17, the sea beast of Revelation 13:1. So when we read this, we have to see clearly that when this stuff comes into our church, we're entering the same sense of Thyatira, or not permitting that woman Jezebel, the prophet, who called her prophetess, to prophesy amongst us, beloved in the Adventist Church. And it's wrong. And Sister White says this will make apostasy what happened in the last days when our church breaks into congregationalism. She says in Testimony, she says in Selected Masters, Book 1, chapter called Foundation of Our Faith, she says, books of a new order republics, a system of intellectual philosophy will be introduced. She says that the founders of this new movement will go into the cities and do a wonderful work, but God being moved, storm and tempest to sweep away the structure. She said desire will be the highest law. She says virtue will be considered better than vice. But she says that the book Living Temple was the alpha of this apostasy, and the omega apostasy is running apace. The book's celebration of discipline, an invitation to a journey, and the class spiritual formation, and the emerging church movement, and neolinguistic programming and contemplative prayer, all of that is the omega apostasy. And Rick Howard really pointed it out clearly in his book called Omega Rebellion, and his YouTube lectures called Omega Rebellion, why it's destroying our church from the inside out and bringing us into harmony with Rome. Beloved, be on guard in these last days. Do not give in to this Jesuit Pope Francis. He knows what he's doing by getting our church to endorse spiritual information. He knows what he's doing by getting the apostate Protestant world to unite with him in ecumenical movement. He knows what he's doing by getting the Adventist Church to unite in ecumenical worship in our churches, bringing in wild music and new theology and dancing and drums and ecumenical dialogue between the churches. He knows what he's doing, beloved. Be faithful unto God and be faithful unto death. Maranatha.